Greetings! Welcome to my Phase 4 guide tutorial. I'm Force of Nature representing top tier tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up. Alright, so Phase 4, what is there to say? Well, she's Kasumi's primary clone in Dead or Alive 5 last round, so yeah, so as you may notice, she pretty much kind of looks exactly like her, except for she gets some pretty swag costumes, like her Gust costume right here. But anyways, I'll just get on and say that Phase 4 actually is a pretty complex, advanced character. So I'll just give a little heads up that if you're pretty new to Dead or Alive 5, including last round, I would recommend you taking a look at the source material for this character, Kasumi, and just to get used to like her general moves and pokes and different things like that. Because generally, Kasumi and Phase 4 have a lot of shared attacks. For instance, certain things like, well, of course they have like the same jab, they're same like KK, 3K, 2K, 6P. I mean like P+K P. I mean they have a lot of attacks that are they have a lot of attacks that are shared. So I mean like at first glance they can almost seem like it's pretty much just almost the same character, but I will let you know that the general playstyle focus for both Kasumi and Phase 4 are very different. I mean, in general, Phase 4 doesn't have Kasumi's kind of heavy string delay and kind of string pressure free cancel and playstyle that Phase 4 can't really try to make use of. Phase 4 is more so based around just simply trying to launch you and just like take damage like wherever she can. So I mean, if you don't mind, like end up having to put in like maybe a little extra work than maybe than most of the cast, and then I look forward to seeing you just make the best that you can with Phase 4. Like I already said before, that yeah, she does have quite a bit of similar moves with Kasumi. So if you actually can play Kasumi, then you should probably get fairly used to Phase 4's poking game. The major difference, though, is that in terms of just the neutral tools or like poking tools, Phase 4 doesn't quite have as many as Kasumi. So big thing with Phase 4 is you have to get used to having to work with fewer poking tools. So I mean, and also another thing also to know about Phase 4 is that she's very on block. If you're to like end your string, she's very unsafe. But the thing also is that her string, she doesn't really have the kind of long strings that Kasumi has. So I mean, well, she has some shared moves like PP6K, which also has the follow up. But by and large, generally with Phase 4, you're just going to be doing like single pokes, trying to fish for a stun. Anyways, though, I mean, this is right now. I will also just give a small disclaimer. If I say anything in this guide that you don't know of or you're unfamiliar with, be sure to check out any previous guides I've done, like with top tier tips, to see if you can end up finding any assistance for your queries. Alright, at this part, I usually end up saying that when you're learning a new character, go check out the command training. But with Phase 4, I actually recommend something a little different. With her, what I actually recommend doing is just go looking at her combo challenge. I mean, obviously before you end up going through the combo challenge, I would recommend command training, but I find that you get a lot more mileage out of out of just getting used to Phase-4's combo challenge as you do to her simply doing her command training, because it ends up making you get used to kind of how her flow is. Because there are, I mean, the general kind of combos that you will be doing in her combo challenge, it ends up pretty much representing the general flow you have with her, well, for instance, like with her teleports. I mean, because at first her combo challenge can actually seem incredibly daunting, especially as you like go on into like any of the harder stuff, but obviously once you kind of like get used of like what flows into what, then it starts to become like clockwork after a while. I mean, here, I'll even show you, I mean, kind of like how kind of crazy your combo challenge can get at times. Yeah, you have to excuse me just messing around there. It's just, that's just one of those combo challenges where you just want to get down like every time you're playing. As for the tag one, I'm not even going to bother. This one was just pure agony to get through, so I'll let you enjoy that on your own time. So, alright, let's just start off with some kind of Phase-4's close range game. Alright, just to kind of base around your gameplay with Phase-4, I'll just let you know right now that 6P is pretty much Phase-4's friend. I mean, this is probably one of the most common attacks you're going to use with Phase-4 is just 6P. It's nothing special on normal hit. Like right here, it's -7. It does have two follow-ups, 6PP and 6PK, which has a potential teleport transition. Generally, you're just gonna do 6P because both 6PP and 6PK are pretty unsafe on block. Oh yeah, and another thing I'm just gonna let you know right now. With Phase-4, you can't teleport on block with her. You can't teleport on block with majority of her attacks. There's only, just to keep in mind, there's only 2 of her teleport transitions you can use that can teleport on block. 66PP and 66K. I'll end up going over those pokes like a little later, but just continuing on here. Alright, just do a bit of a rundown Phase-4. It's got a 9-frame jab, 11-frame 6P, and 12-frame 2P. So right here, 9-frame jab, 11-frame 6P, 12-frame 2P, and 12-frame KK, and also a 12-frame DP if you were feeling disrespectful. But yeah, this one unfortunately is not safe on block like Alpha. So this one, yeah, it's like a minus. It's like -30 on block, so you do want it to be a bit careful with that one. Alright, so in close, I'll just let you know in general you're just going to be doing stuff like PP, 6P, 2P, and if you want to try and open up someone that's an opponent that's just basically being overly defensive, like you're, I don't know, they're being afraid of your speed, you can open them up with 1K or throws. I mean, I'm going to show you that throw. I'm going to end up showing you that throw a bit later, because I mean, with Phase-4 you're going to be getting really accustomed to that. If you do want to have to deal with tracking or anything like that with Phase-4, like in close, P+K and 1K are generally going to be your go-to attacks for stopping step. Like PK is a 14 frame mid punch, 1K is 20 frame low kick. At 20 frames, the opponent can only really react to it if they're pretty much specifically looking for it. If you end up mixing up and making them afraid of 6P, or PP, or getting stunned by like something like PP 6K, then you can usually sneak in 1K pretty often. And this right here, I just call it the B-Boy Dragon Special, the 1K. You can also get it off of your jab string, PP 2K. I mean, yeah, I'll let you know that it's the same attack pretty much that Kasumi has. I mean, her like PP 2K or 1K. This right here gives you plus 14 on normal hit, which can allow you to well, basically just follow up with 6P. You could try 7K, but the range is too inconsistent, so it's better just to do 6P. And of course, when the opponent tries to hold your 6P, just go for the launcher throw. Alright, right now I'll just go on to mid-range. With Phase-4, the general pokes you're going to be using from mid-range is generally going to be 3K, H+K, or technically you can use 66P and 66KK also. Another thing you can do is if you're kind of hovering around mid-range, you can try and intercept the opponent approaches with either P+K or 6P. I mean, obviously on counter hits, 6Ps are really nice to hit. Alright, so if you actually are like stunning your opponent with like a counter hit P+K or a counter hit 6P, this right here is where something can get a little bit more tricky with Phase-4's utilizing part of her teleports within her stun game. Generally, after a 6P, you can launch automatically, like with 4K, 3K, I mean like that, and just go for a small juggle. Just on 3K, yeah, the juggles can be a bit specific based on launch height. Like for instance, technically, if you hit a 3K raw on counter hit, you can get off a pretty decent juggle for doing that. But if you do it after like a stun, it's a level 1 launch. If you end up launching just like raw, like you counter hit something, then you're actually getting a level 2 launch, which is a bit higher. And anyways, mid-range is a decent range to be at with Phase-4. If you're fighting around mid-range, your goal is generally going to be trying to maybe counter hit something. So this is your 6P, P+K, 66P, or 66K can come in handy. Alright, but I'll just go on to Phase-4 at a longer range now. Alright, if Phase-4 is at long range, let's say this range isn't necessarily really that beneficial to her because she's not really a long range fighter, but she does have a pretty nice tool at long range, with her Chifu stance off her dash. Looks just like Kasumi's Hoshimpo dash, but with well, for Phase-4 it's considered her Chifu stance. The move you're going to use most often from there would be your 3P+K P or Chifu P. This attack reaches really far. So generally, if you're at long range, if the opponent is paying attention, this is the move they should be looking out for. I mean, her Chifu P comes out really fast at well, technically 7 frames out of her stance. So, I mean, as you can see right there, frame 7. Although it doesn't take into account the actual frames from the stance, so it's probably closer to being between like 25 to 30 frames. Like it's around a similar speed to, it's pretty much like the same speed as like Kasumi's, but if you just do the dash, the opponent pretty much cannot react to this at all. What they're reacting to is your dash. So if they are, for instance, ducking or trying to hold on reaction, you could use like a 3 P+K 3 P+K P or 3 P+K Chifu P or Chifu P+K. This move is a Phase 4 secondary critical burst. It is -8 on block, so if you get it blocked, you can be punished. But if the opponent's too focused on not getting hit by this, because this move here is only -4 on block, making it a completely safe way to get in. So if the opponent's focused on that, then you can go for other options. And of course, if they're afraid of this, the safest option is just usually use the dash to get in. I don't really recommend Chifu K as much unless you know the opponent is you're gonna counter hit something. Because I find that at -8 you're not horribly unsafe. If the opponent is on point, they technically can 7-frame throw you, but if they're off balance, then you can easily miss the opportunity to punish -8. Also from around like mid to like long range, you can also use 1P to catch step. It's okay on counter hits, and it does have a follow-up, which is a 1PP. Obviously it has a teleport transition. If it gets blocked, it is unsafe. The thing about 1P is that on normal hit, it's like -15 on normal hit, so if you're just doing that, then the opponent technically could punish you for doing that, which kind of forces you to have to try and do 1 PP, which is a high punch, mid punch follow up, or a teleport. So generally, yeah, if you get hit or block 1P, you can generally just 2P to go on. You can be 2P right away. You can go under the follow up, although you have to be pretty fast to do that. But of course, the safer thing for the opponent to do is just simply block it, because if the second hit is blocked, then obviously you can't go into the teleport. Like that right there says another big thing about Phase 4 is you do have to be a bit disciplined during the neutral game with her, a bit more than even some other characters, mainly because your safe neutral tools are kind of limited, because you do have to resist the urge to try and use moves that only teleport on normal hit, because obviously if it gets blocked, then you leave yourself open for punishment. Because Phase 4 doesn't really have many in the way of string delays to really mess up an opponent's time, or to mess up the opponent's time, or to just try and like throw them off or anything. I mean, so basically, if the opponent usually blocks anything from Phase 4, you're going to be leaving yourself quite unsafe. If you're feeling kind of like ballsy, you know, and the opponent is, again, if the opponent is afraid of getting hit by like 6P or Chifu P, you could try and sneak in Tenfu her Tenfu attacks, which is her jumping stance. There's like Tenfu P, Tenfu K, and there's a Tenfu throw. Both Tenfu P and Tenfu K are unsafe on block, Tenfu P being -9 and Tenfu K being -15 if it gets blocked. And if the opponent's just standing there, you can try and sneak in the throw, but it is a throw, so you can be struck out of the air if the opponent can react fast enough, and of course you can try and duck it on reaction. But it is a nice option to have, because out of the kind of forward jump-in stance that Kasumi has, she doesn't have any mids out of it. All Kasumi has out of it is the throw and a high kick. So with Kasumi, as soon as you see the jump, you know you can duck right away. With Phase 4, may try and can use it to, well, something like Tenfu P to stun you on normal hits. It is a risky option, and I don't necessarily recommend using it very often, but it just lets you know that it's another option that you do have. And of course, I mean, no one really wants to get hit by this humiliating throw anyway. Alright, so I'll just let you know Phase-4's tracking moves. Went over a few earlier, but I'll just use this as an opportunity to recap. P+K and 1K are generally probably going to be the more often used tracking moves. H+K is another decent one. Be careful that it is technically negative on normal hit, like -1, but it's like because the second hit of Kasumi's 6PK, so it is safe on block through the pushback. Oh yeah, like I said earlier, you can use 1P to catch tracking. You can use 2H+K, which I don't really think is that good of a move. Or there's also, I mean, 6H+K, which has 2 follow-ups. It's pretty much just like it's just like Kasumi's 6H+K Ks. I mean, it's pretty much like the same move. But yeah, those are some tracking options right there. The second hit of 66 PP also tracks. Also, with this move, 66 PP, be really careful with it on an opponent's block, because it is possible to duck under the second hit if the first hit gets blocked. If the first hit connects, the opponent has a very small window to hold it, so they can't hit you. In that case, I usually just go for 6XP most times. I mean, it's tempting to go through it with that because it's pretty much like Phase-4's only like guard break that you can really make use of. But yeah, but be careful of people that can duck the second hit on reaction. Like I do see a lot of Phase-4 players trying to abuse this, but it's it is slightly gimmicky because an alert, competent player will be ducking under the second hit and punishing you regularly. I mean, it's just pretty much almost exactly the same move as like Kasumi's 6PP. So be careful with that. So I mean, essentially, people that are accustomed to fighting Kasumi will already know like what a lot of Phase-4's like standard pokes or tools may look like because of that, because of the similarities between herself and Kasumi. Alright, so right now let's be going on to Phase-4's throw game. Alright, off the get-go, I'll say a lot of Phase-4's throws are pretty much the same. I mean, there's like very, very, very slight differences. Like her quarter circle back throw, and it's 10 frames as opposed to Kasumi's 12 frames, but it does 4 less damage at 58 damage as opposed to 62 damage. But with Phase-4, I mean, if you're going for a throw, I generally just recommend her 2-3-6-2. I mean, one of your objectives with playing Phase-4 pretty much is to try and hit this throw. I mean, I actually don't even bother thinking that she has any other throws. Like, you can use her for her 7-frame throw for blocking or punishing stuff on block, or for a neutral throw too, but generally the throw you want to go through under most instances is her 2-3-6-T. Alright, the go-to juggle for this throw here nets you a decent solid 79 damage on normal throw. Alright, after the throw, what you're gonna do is 4P. So it's 4K teleport into Chifu K teleport. Then after that, you just get the air throw, or Tenfu throw. That combo I think is generally a good go-to juggle for most instances, with her launcher throw being the best, the most common instance. Alright, I'll show you what you can do with her crouch and throw, her 1T. Alright, off of this, what I recommend would be 4K, 6PK, 6PK, then teleport, then go into the throw. Alright, that's usually a good go-to, gets solid damage. And of course, I already showed you earlier, yeah, she has a throw from her jump-in stance. That's another thing for the opponent to pay attention to. I mean, she also has a 3-3 key like Kasumi. It does, I think, the same damage at about 68, but you actually end up getting more damage off of just going for a 2-3-6 T juggle. Alright, so I'll show you some stuff off of some of her combo holds. Alright, here you can just use the same juggle that you use off of the 1T, her low throw. So 4K, 6PK, P+K, teleport, then air throw. Alright. Phase-4 does possess 2 expert holds. I'll show you the expert punch hold. Alright, so what you end up going for off this one after the hold is 1 PP teleport. So 1 PP teleport K, then after the K, teleport into the air throw. Alright, so that's a good go-to, and also you get solid damage. You get solid damage through it. Alright, generally the trickiest of the advanced holds to combo off would be her expert kick hold. Alright, the juggle that I do recommend here. Alright, I'll just show you. What you do is do like after the launch, you do like a very small dash. Then go 4K twice. Wait a slight moment, so you then do 60K, then teleport throw. You have to for the 2 4Ks, you could usually do them relatively right away. So just do the small dash and 4K. Wait a moment and do 60K. If you end up doing the 60K too early, the 6P will end up dropping. But I find that this you can usually get relatively you get its solid damage and it's relatively reliable. So it is usually a good juggle to work with. I mean, obviously you can end up exploring other options as you get used to Phase-4's flow, but I find that is a good go-to juggle to go with. Anyways, alright, I'll just show a little bit of Phase-4 at the wall. Phase-4 isn't really too big when it comes on to good wall slamming moves. Probably her best one would be like her Chifu P. You can also use her 6P+K critical burst, but if you end up getting a wall slam, then what I actually usually end up recommending after the wall slam, which you can also do with 66P. Invisible wall there. Oh well, counter hit 66P, that is. All right. What you can end up just doing is, as I showed earlier, it's a 8K teleport P. Then you end off with PKKK. You do have to be a bit careful when it does turn off to the side a bit. You can also just use 4K and go for PKKK, just a slightly less damage, but is a bit more consistent. Yeah, you do have to be a bit careful of like angled or hitting a wall at an angle. But yeah, if you get it fully, you pretty much do get really good damage for a wall juggle. If you end up hitting a 2-3-6T in front of a wall, then you can pretty much play the 4K juggle game. See, each time you go, to be a bit careful if it does go off to the side, but in general, you go, there, and you get about 84 damage, which is really respectable. Alright, I'll just show you a critical burst juggle that you can use with Phase 4 under most instances. Alright, what I ended up doing there after the critical burst is a 4K teleport, 4K teleport K, and after K you teleport into Tenfu P. So after the K, you do Tenfu P, then you do an 8K teleport, then finish off with an air throw. Okay, that's pretty much is really solid damage for a critical burst combo. If you actually manage to hit counter hit 4K, it can actually technically connect 2 for 99 damage. You just need to make sure that and hit confirm that you got counter hit, but off of 4K I generally just recommend going for a 6PK teleport into the throw just for reliable damage, but if you end up knowing it was counter hit, then yeah, you can go for the full juggle. Alright, I'll just show a few moves, some like go-to moves you can use for stunning the opponent on normal hit. In close, the most common one would be 1K. You can also use KK or PKK, which is very similar to Kasumi's. Take note that her high kick is 1 frame slower than Kasumi, so I mean, yeah, it's 12 frames. So you can also use 6P. This one will be like for mid-range. If you're getting in, this will be the one you can stun with. You can also, obviously, you could also stun with 66K and 6K or PP 6K, so you can use these as your normal hit stuns. 1K and 66P are probably going to see the most. Are probably going to end up seeing the most usage. Anyways, that's it for now. All right, I'll just give you a small recap. All right, with Phase 4, the recommendation is to be very careful during the neutral game. 6P is generally going to be your friend, so you're going to be doing a lot of 6P or PP, 6K, chuck in some 1Ks for good measure. 6P and 3K are good pokes. You can use you could try P+K, but this one is unsafe on block. P+K and P6P do have teleport transitions. So I mean, so obviously being safe during the neutral is very important with Phase 4. Another thing also to keep in mind with Phase 4 is knowing which attacks can teleport on block and which ones can't. Only 66PP and 66K can teleport on an opponent's block. Anything else will have to be will have to connect and hit the opponent on either normal hit, counter hit, high counter, whatever. And for generally, yeah, with Phase 4, your objective is obviously to try and stun the opponent, most commonly with 6P, or to end up nailing your launcher throw on the opponent. Because when you end up stunning the opponent with Phase 4, her stun game can be quite scary. I recommend using 3P and 1PP as like common follow-ups, like after you stun the opponent. I mean, 3P teleport and 1P teleport do provide good mix-ups that can really keep the opponent on the defensive, and if the opponent is not sure what's happening, they can almost panic. Right, and for the main thing to practice with Phase 4 is I definitely recommend practicing her just her teleport transition. Just knowing which moves can transition into teleports, and I mean, yeah, I'll just let you know that most of them actually aren't that bad. The Chifu K will throw you off a bit at first. I mean, until you get accustomed to it. But the two actual challenging ones in terms of timing is P+K teleport and P6P teleport. Like for P+K and P6P, you pretty much have to do it like right after it hits, like immediately after it hits. I mean, it's tighter timing than the other teleports. For things like Chifu K, for any of these kind of auto doubles, what you end up doing is you press P+K right in between it. Because if you miss the teleport, you'll just get a double attack. So with getting down those timings, then you can learn how to better flow with Phase 4. Oh, as anyways, that is it for now. I'll just let you know if there's any, if you have any questions regarding anything, feel free to contact me, Force of Nature, on Free Step Dodge, or on my YouTube, on my Twitch, my Twitter, wherever. Anyways, be sure to check out my other guides to see for other helpful information, helpful tips, and also check out my other character guides just to get a little understand of the entire cast. Anyways, I'm Force of Nature. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.